Okay, thank you, Milica. I just have to apologize for something because for some reason I thought that presentation should be in Serbian. So I spent a lot of time adapting my presentation to be in Serbian language. I mean, I have no problem, I can speak in English, but the presentation that I prepared today will be in Serbian language. I will translate it back to English so that Milica can send it to you. I hope this is not a problem because what you will be seeing in the screen will be in Serbian. I don't know why, because I thought, and for me it is more difficult actually to talk about this in Serbian language than in English. So it was quite a challenge to translate and to prepare everything in Serbian. But I apologize for this. It was a mistake from my side. I don't know how I did that, but.
Sorry, Milan, just to briefly interrupt you before you start. I just want to say to anyone in chat, if you need help with something, you can just type it out. So I'll try and translate also, in writing as you present. It's not a problem. Also, I would like to ask everybody to fill in this sign up form that I'm sending you right now in chat, so that we can keep track of the attendance and sort of keep track of the results of our events. So please, if you're here, do check out the form that I sent in chat, and please please leave your email address. Thank you. Now that's it for me, Milan. Sorry, you can continue as planned.
Okay, thank you. And you will see the presentation is basically a tool that helps me guide this lecture. So I will be talking mostly the things that are not written, but anyway, I apologize once again for this. So first of all, we have to understand that technology is progressing every day. And the way technology is progressing, there are also challenges and threats that this technology brings. We are at the moment at the crossroad where we are slowly moving from a society that has been intertwined with internet, which is something that we have been living for some time. And now we are slowly transforming to another kind of society where most of this automatization is going to happen. Big data is now becoming a very important thing. And of course, Internet of Things is something that is is spreading every day. And we have to understand that one of the most complicated engineering feats that mankind has ever done, and that was the moon landing. The main computer used for moon landing was 1 million times, had the lower capacity, lower memory, operating memory than the phones that we carry in our pockets. And it had around 100,000 times less processing power than our phones that we carry in our pockets. And when we are talking about the phones, this is a very sophisticated tracking and listening device that we are carrying with ourselves on purpose and with consent. So we have to understand that thing. So from January 2021, there is 59.5% of the world population, that's around 4.6 billion people, that is using internet. And out of this 4.6 billion people, 92.6% of the people is using phones to access internet. And these are the new trends, because in the past, if you wanted to access internet, you would be using computers. But now more and more people are using phones, and phones are becoming very much part of our lives, part of our daily routines, part of the things that we do. I mean, it's something that we go to bed with, and the first thing that we wake up usually, unless you are a smoker, the first thing that you get is the phone in the morning. So it is something that is becoming very important to ourselves. And this is some, I like to call them not so fun facts. There is 63% of all intrusions that happened are caused by by use of default passwords or stolen passwords. So passwords are critical to keep ourselves safe in today's world. And 90% of all hacker attacks were discovered by the third parties. It was not discovered by a person who was under attack, but it was actually discovered by someone else. Because usually the people who are under cyber attack, they don't know that, or it is quite difficult for them to realize that they have been under a cyber attack. So let's first talk about what is digital security. And digital security is like a chain. And we all know that chain will break at its weakest link. And we have seen that many times. And when we talk about digital security, there are many potentially weak links. One of the potential weak links might be one of the colleagues that we work with, because it doesn't matter how dedicated we are to digital security, how careful we are, if we have a colleague who is not so careful, who is clicking on all the links, opening up emails that are coming without thinking about it. So that is a potential problem. So the weakest link can be your colleague. The weakest link can be one of your devices, because as I said, today, in today's world, majority of the access to internet is happening through mobile devices. And people usually think that, why there is no way that somebody can put a virus on my phone. There are no viruses for phones, for tablets, or the great misconception, there are no viruses for Mac computers. I mean, there are viruses for everything. The thing is that 95% of the computers in the world are Windows-based computers. So it is quite logical that 95% of all the viruses are created for Windows devices, because viruses are created for a specific device. So then the weak link can also be one of our accounts. And especially today, every time we want to start a new service, to open up a new account on some service, there is this thing when they ask you to link your your existing account. For instance, link this service. If you want to open a service, then link it, log in with your Facebook, log in with your Google, log in with this or that. This creates a potential threat, because first of all, you do not know how secure those services are. We know that Google has very good security service. We know that Facebook has a good, Twitter, they have good security service. But if you use the same login to access some other service, then this service might not have such high security standards, and somebody can gain your username and password for Google or for Facebook from this unsecure account. So this is why it is very important that every time you need to create a new account, you create this account with the fresh username and fresh password. And at the end, I will tell you, how best to do that. So another not so fun fact is that 30% of the people are actually opening phishing emails. Phishing is one of the most common ways of cyber attacks. And 30% of people, I mean, this is a little bit scary. 30% of the people is actually falling for phishing and opening up phishing emails. And 12% of the people is clicking on attachments from unknown recipients. Like you receive from DHL, your package has arrived, please read the PDF for all the details where you can pick it up or something like that. And you see something is wrong because you are not expecting anything from DHL, and you click on this attachment, and it's actually a malware that is being installed in your computer. So the topic today, we are going to talk about open source solutions and how can open source solutions help you in staying safe in today's world. First of all, let's make a distinction between closed source and open source software. So what is the difference? Closed source software, as you can see here on the left side of the screen, this is Microsoft Office, this is Windows, this is iOS, Apple software, Photoshop, these are closed source software. What does it mean? It means that we cannot read their source code. because it is proprietary software, it is owned by private companies, and they do not allow us to see how this software functions, because this is, they developed it and they are protecting it. They don't want you to see how it works because they are worried you might copy it, you might make something similar, and they don't want that because they make a lot of money by selling this software, especially Microsoft Corporation. Then on the other side, you have open source software. And open source software, for instance, let's look from operating systems. Instead of Windows, you have Linux. Then you have Mozilla Thunderbird, Mozilla Firefox, Symbian, Android, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE. Those are all OpenOffice. This is a copy of Microsoft Office. So these are all softwares where the source code is available for everyone to review. I mean, of course, I don't expect you or even me, because I cannot read code, to analyze how this software works, but there are individuals, there are organizations all around the world who are dedicated to reviewing this open source software and to make sure that they are doing what they said this software is doing. And I mean, we can even go so deep that, for instance, you heard all about this big, how to call it, a bout between United States and China regarding Huawei company. It's because of their hardware. And what is the issue there? The main issue there is that majority of Chinese hardware, they have inside their chipsets, their firmware is not safe, because I know for a fact that the home routers that most of the companies here in the region are using, ZTE or Huawei home routers that you get from your internet service provider, they have a factory built backdoor in it. And if you have enough time, basically you can go on the internet, mainly you can go on the dark web, and you can search and find exploits how you can access home routers through this backdoor, because people discovered this backdoor and they published information about it. The thing is with these companies is that they can put a malware inside the firmware of the chips, and you have no idea, you cannot detect it, and this malware will be doing something. And this is the main threat that the United States are feeling, is that, if they are using Chinese equipment in sensitive places, they are not sure that this equipment will not be providing an additional service or providing a backdoor for Chinese Secret Service to enter into secure systems. So it is very important to know what kind of devices are you buying, to know what kind of software you are using, and if you are really, how can I say, if you really believe you are a threat, you can also find completely open source hardware, which means that there are companies in the world who are creating both computers and phones who are completely open source. So what they are doing, okay, Nathan, sorry, I see you raised hand. Do you want to say something?
I think it might have been just by
by accident. Okay, no problem.
I think so. If you want, just raise it again or type out in chat. I'll let you speak. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I will continue speaking unless you interrupt me again. Okay, so as I said, there are companies that are creating both computers and phones that are completely open source. And this is something that really, if you believe that you are a potential target of the illegal surveillance, this is something that you might consider using, because these companies, they are sourcing chips that are accepting an open source firmware, which means that these companies are writing a firmware for all the chips that are in those devices, and they're open source, they can be reviewed, and you can see that every chipset beside the software in these devices is doing exactly what they say it does, which means it does not sell or transfer any data from your devices to third parties. So it is mainly important for you to understand that, you know, using open source is actually providing additional security, even though it sounds a little bit contradictory, because, oh, why, but I'm using something that everybody knows the source code, and maybe it can be you know, abused, but it's not like that. It's actually quite opposite. Because open source means that we know exactly what this software is doing, and it cannot do anything else. So a little bit facts. Since the start of the pandemic, we can see the increase of cyber attacks by almost 400%. And this is an official data. And even the World Economic Forum, in their report, Global Risk Reporting for 2020, said that the chance to arrest or capture cyber criminals is 0.05%. And this is true because cyber criminals operate in a different world, how to, you know, to say it like that. It is very difficult to trace the things that they're doing because they are using so many proxies, so many different devices to organize attacks that are not directly connected to them. So they can be sitting in a beach somewhere in Maldives and initiating a cyber attack at the, I don't know, some countries, you know, infrastructure or organization or whatever, without any risk for them. So another effect is that 74% of companies are usually having 1,000 or more sensitive documents that are available to all employees without any level of protection. And this is a big, big mistake. And this is what I see in both companies in private sector and also with organizations, with also with NGOs, CSOs here in the region, and not just here in the region, around the world, is that everybody who is in this organization usually have access to, I don't know, a shared drive, and on this shared drive there are some sensitive information. Then again, it depends what kind of information you are dealing with, but I'm sure that maybe your organization doesn't have 1,000 sensitive documents, but there are some documents that are available for anyone to access. And this is something that you need to work with, and you need to change these procedures where you keep sensitive documents and how do you keep them. And one of the main, we say, delivery devices for viruses is actually Microsoft Office applications, such as Word, PowerPoint, or Excel. And they are around 38% of all file extensions are actually from Microsoft Office applications, those who are carrying any kinds of malware. And when we are talking about malware, there are many kinds of malware. We are not talking just somebody who wants to get into your computer to access data that is in. We have this malware that is very broad-sided, or broad, not broad-sided, broad, which means that they don't care whose computer or whose device they infect, as long as they infect as much devices they can, because, and this is what the malware has been doing lately, a majority of malware is actually using your device's resources for crypto mining. And this is, yeah, this is very popular now. Somebody will infect your device, not to steal the data, not to, you know, access something that you have on your device, or to access your camera or microphone when you are not aware of that, but basically to use the resources of your device to crypto mine. So it's, you know, scary. But so the biggest cybersecurity threats in 2021, by certain analysis, that what we can expect. First and foremost, this is social engineering. And social engineering is something that is probably the most scary part. And then again, this is when we are talking about targeting attacks, this is what is mainly used. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of years ago, there was a huge data leak about celebrities and their private photos that were hacked, how they said, from iCloud. So we had many famous actresses, models whose private photos were leaked online because somebody hacked iCloud. Well, technically, nobody hacked iCloud. iCloud has a very high level of protection, but what they did, they used social engineering, basically. And they went and they analyzed their targets. And every service that we are subscribed to, you know, if you forget your password, they will ask you these personal questions. You know, what is the maiden name of your mother? What is your first pet's name? And, you know, what is the name of the street you were living in as a child, or something like that. And those are very generic questions, and it's very easy to access and see what these questions are. So these hackers actually, they collected these questions and they started analyzing their targets. And because these persons were celebrities, they could find everything about them. They could find their mother's maiden name, their first pet's name. So they were actually guessing their secret answers, and they managed to guess, and they succeeded in over 200 accounts. They guessed because they were doing, you know, this part of social engineering where they analyze their targets, they predicted how, and this is what is social engineering. You analyze your target, you predict how your target is going to respond to this kind of, communication, and then you create a specific communication for them. And there are several ways how social engineering is being used. And phishing is around 90% of all social engineering attacks is phishing. We will talk a little bit later more about phishing, but let me mention the other ones. The other ones are something that is called scareware. And scareware is, you will probably recognize this. And this is, you remember, sometimes you went to a certain website and then you have this banner and says, your computer is in danger. We have identified 5 viruses on your computer. Please, you know, click here and, you know, clean your computer from these viruses. This is called scareware because they're trying to scare you into doing something that you would not ordinarily do. You would not click on, you know, these links that are, you know, showing up anywhere, but, you know, maybe they're trying to, you know, scare you and say, oh, you have 3 viruses in your computer. Click now to clean it before it gets, you know, very bad. Other kind of social engineering attack, it's called quid pro quo. And as the name says, quid pro quo means you get something for something. So usually how it works is that they would show up as researchers of some kind, and they would need some information from you regarding your company. And usually they would ask for some kind of login information. And for that, they are going to give something for you, a voucher or money or whatever. They're trying to, you know, persuade you that their intentions are honorable and they want to work with you. So, you know, let's work together on this research. We just need, you know, access, you know, login data for your network. And baiting is also very, very popular. It's, you know, when they are, giving you different baits, to call it like that, for you to click on some links to download something like, oh, you know, click here, you have free music, you have free movies, you can watch this, you can do this. They're trying to bait you into clicking and downloading something on your computer, which is usually a malware. And that's how you are going to infect your computer, and depends on what kind of malware you're downloading. It depends what it is going to do. Is it going to log the information that you are typing in? For instance, what are the accounts that you have been logging in on your computer, or is it just going to use your resources, whether it is for crypto mining or even if it is for some other kind of cyber attacks, which is another common use of malware, is to abuse abuse the computer's capacity for different kind of cyber attacks. And lately, we have been seeing something that is called spear phishing or advanced phishing attacks. And this is something that is a little bit more complicated, but let's first look at what is a standard phishing attack. And before we go to that, I have to stress something that is very, very important. Never, never, ever, ever, your bank, Google, Facebook, Twitter, or any service is going to send you an email asking you to click on a link and do something on their website. So this is never, never going to happen. And most of the information that you get, most of the emails that you get with this kind of content is a phishing email, and it is a potential threat. So, for instance, you receive an email from Facebook saying, "Oh, somebody tried to hack your Facebook account, but don't worry, we managed to stop this. We have high security level, but just to make sure, here is the link for you to log in and check if everything is okay with your account." And you receive this email, you think, oh, it's coming from Facebook, you click on this link, you get this page. And what is this? It's a regular Facebook page, right? This is a Facebook login page. Why should I not put my username and password here and log into my account? But if you look a little bit more, you would see the address. First of all, it's just HTTP. It's not an HTTPS, which means that this is a secure connection. HTTP means it's a regular connection. HTTPS means that there is an encryption between your device and their server, which means that nobody can read any information that you put on this page. Nobody can intercept it and get this information. Then the second thing is the address is facebook.serverfree.com/login. Well, this doesn't sound like a Facebook address because this is a classical phishing email. And how does a regular Facebook page look? Like this. So what's the difference between this and this? Very small difference. And it's in the URL. This is the regular Facebook login page. Here you see this little lock. And it says facebook.com/login. That means that this is the right address. And if you click on this lock, then you would get the website identification, and it would say, DigiCert has identified this website as facebook.com. DigiCert is an organization that is providing these digital certificates, that is making sure that you are accessing the right information. And it says your connection to the server is encrypted. This is what this small lock means. That means HTTPS. That means that you are on the HTTPS web page, which means that connection between your device and this page, this server, is encrypted and cannot be intercepted. So every time you need to log in or to put any information, personal information especially, on any table or if anyone sends you something to fill in, if it's not HTTPS and it doesn't have this a small log there, do not do this. And I remember I was traveling to some country and I had to apply for a visa online. And the crazy thing is that these countries' official website was not HTTPS. So I basically refused to give my data so that I would get a visa in advance to travel to this country, because they did not have an HTTPS server, which was for me completely, I mean, I could not believe this. It was unbelievable, really unbelievable, that official web page of this country or official web page of the agency that is providing this service for the country does not have a secure website, HTTPS website. So I refused to do it like that, and I had to wait for in the long line when I entered the country because I got the visa on site. And I really encourage you to look at URLs every time you need to leave some information. Look at the URL and see if there is an HTTPS connection, or if there is this lock that will show you that this connection is secure. Okay, I saw at the point something jumped in the chat, but can you be protected by installing ad blockers? Yes, ad blockers are very good thing, and this is something that I recommend you to install. But ad blockers are not everything. It doesn't mean if you put an ad blocker, you're going to be safe from all threats. Ad blockers are there to serve a specific purpose, you know, to prevent you from, you know, these pop-up ads that will be, you know, popping up around your device at all times. But it will not protect you from other forms of malware. The same way, okay, I will talk about private browsing at the end, because this is also one of the misconceptions that people are having regarding private browsing. So the second threat that I want to talk to you about, and it is very popular recently, it's called ransomware. And I'm sure that you have all heard of ransomware attacks. And in 2020, in all ransomware attacks that happened in the world, all registered ransomware attacks, because who knows how many happened that people never reported. The total amount of money that was asked by hackers was $1.4 billion. And the cost to rectify the mistakes or the problems that this ransomware actually created was $1.45 million. So it was a very expensive thing to deal with. And I know that some organizations here in the region, they had big issues with ransomware. And I know that, for instance, one company last year actually, that was the end of, I think, 2019, in Macedonia, they had to pay 30,000 euros to some hacker in Bitcoin to get their documents unlocked. Because, I mean, can you imagine how much their documents were worth when they were willing to pay 30,000 euros for these hackers to unlock their documents? And these kind of things are happening all around the world. And the ransomware is actually the third most common cyber attack that is occurring. And in September 2020, we even had the first case of a cyber attack caused death in Germany, when hackers actually used ransomware for one hospital, I think in Düsseldorf or something, I'm not sure which city in Germany. They managed to lock the hospital's information system with ransomware. And because the doctors could not access the system, one woman died as a cause of this. So she is actually the first reported death resulting of a cyber attack. And this is because during the pandemic, they decided to attack the most vulnerable ones. And we had also situations where, I think in Ukraine, the entire energetic system was compromised because of the ransomware. It locked the biggest companies and state-owned agencies in Ukraine. So these kind of ransomware attacks can be very devastating. And there are even new kinds of ransomware that are, I'm going to say, very smart, because they are not, for instance, if they infect your system, they're not activating themselves right away. They're lurking there. I know of one case where it lurked for around 2 weeks. So all the backups that this organization did in 2 weeks, they were all infected with the same ransomware. And then, you know, at one point it was activated. So they had actually to pull their backups from a month before. I mean, this organization, they had a very good, say, backup policy. So they were doing daily backups. So they had these backups. So they had to find the backup that is more than 2 weeks old. So they lost 2 weeks worth of data that they were putting in between, but they managed to restore the systems without paying. I think they were asked for first around 200,000 euros, and then they were starting to lower. But yeah, they started with 200,000 euros. So DDoS attacks. This is very popular lately, and just in the first half of 2020, we had 4.8 million DDoS attacks in the world. And why is this happening? Unfortunately, as you can see from this table here, the price of DDoS attacks is ridiculously low. This, if you can, read here on this table, this is from privacyaffairs.com. So this is, how can I say, eligible information. The cost for unprotected website to attack it, it's $10 an hour. This is ridiculous. So if I don't like what any organization is doing, the easiest way, how can I prevent people from reading about this, is to go on the dark web and order a DDoS attack. I was even thinking I wanted to show you how easy it is to put some screenshots here, but it's basically like you are logging in on your Facebook account. You log in there, you put the website that you want to attack, you put the amount of, the size of the attack that you want, because this is 10 to 50,000 requests per second. This is not so big attack. This is like a small to medium size kind of attack, but you can even include attacks that are, in millions of requests per second from a million different IP addresses. And of course, the price is higher, but again, you don't need this kind of big attack for organizations that are working here in the region. Those kind of attacks are for some more complex systems, but they were happening. I remember the biggest attack that company that I worked with dealt with was 42 gigabits. So it was a huge attack. It was millions of IP addresses that were targeting our client, and it was really difficult, but everything is possible with the right equipment, the right software, and right people. You can protect anything, and our client, I can be happy to say, never felt a thing, because we managed to deflect these attacks, and their service was operating all the time. So it's easy to protect, but most people do not consider this as a potential threat until it happens to them. I remember I have been working with organizations from, here, from the region, from many countries, in providing these free DDoS attacks that we will, free DDoS protection that we will talk about later. And if somebody here had any experience with the DDoS attacks, I would really like to hear. So you can either raise your hand and say something about it, or you can write it in chat and we can read. But I would like to hear if someone had any experience with DDoS attacks on their organization. So I give you a few seconds for you to report. If not, I will consider that nobody had this kind of issue yet, which is good. But again, we will talk a little bit later how you can protect yourself, not becoming a victim of this. Okay, so no raise hands. Okay, so one of the biggest cybersecurity threat that I see here in the region is illegal surveillance. And we know in Macedonia, there was this huge scandal where there were around 20,000 people who were under illegal surveillance by the previous regime in Macedonia. And you have to understand that all countries in the region are using the most sophisticated surveillance equipment, namely FinFisher. FinFisher is a very good system. It can infect any kind of device, and when it infects a device, it's how we like to say, it owns the device. It means that they're in complete control of this device. So what does that mean? They mean that they can turn on camera on your device at any time. They can turn microphone on your device at any time. It doesn't matter if you're using Signal to communicate, because they are in your phone before you even start using Signal. They are already there. And I mean, Signal is good if they're trying to intercept, and we will talk about this now, how this end-to-end encryption works. But if they are owning your phone, then it doesn't matter what kind of things you use. If you use VPN, it doesn't matter, they are in your device. So one of the main problems with this is that are weak institutions, because if we don't have strong institutions in our countries, then the level of potential abuse of this kind of equipment, which is very, very sophisticated, because this is the equipment that normal countries use to fight terrorism, to fight organized crime. But in some countries, this is used to surveil political opponents, to survey, family members. I mean, it is, if there is no oversight on the use of this equipment, the level of abuse is enormous. Because what you need someone who has enough money. They will go to the corrupt official who is in charge of this equipment, and they say, I want you to install this malware in my wife's phone. And they will do that, and they are doing that. So it is important for us to understand that this equipment is good. It is important for countries to have this equipment, but it is more important to have the oversight on the use of this equipment. I know, for instance, that in Macedonia, the new government, they have created several different levels of oversight, and now there are even potential that people from the state commission can go and check this equipment at any time without need to announce themselves, and they can bring security experts with them to go in to check the logs of this equipment to see what it was used for, because all this equipment, it's maintaining logs of everything that they are doing. And we have seen in Macedonia that the previous regime tried to destroy these logs. They tried to destroy the hard disks that contained these logs, for what kind of surveillance these machines were used. And there is even, as far as I know, a court trial about this. Sorry. So when we are talking about surveillance, we have to understand how surveillance works. So this is an example how communication between device A and device B works. So if I'm trying to send something via an unencrypted application or a service, basically like an SMS, because SMS is the worst thing that you can do to communicate any sensitive information, because SMS is, first of all, it's a plain text format, which means that it's, how you write it, that's how it goes. It doesn't, change anything. And it's also very easy to intercept. And by law, in every country, mobile providers are obliged to keep the content of SMS messages, in some cases, up to several years. I think 3 years is the limit that they need to keep all the SMS messages that passed through their network. They need to keep it. And because it is in plain text format, it doesn't take too much space, and it's very easy for them to keep this. And they are doing this, not because they don't like you, but because this is what they are obliged by the law. And if you're trying to communicate from device A to device B and you send a message, first of all, you're using a hardware, which means, like, for instance, a phone, operating system of that phone, and you're using the application for communication. And when you send this, it goes, if you're using, for instance, an application, not an SMS, that does not have end-to-end encryption, first of all, you are connected to the wireless network. And if it's not your home and you're connecting somewhere else, then the administrator of this wireless network, they can access the content of your message. Then the internet service provider to whom this Wi-Fi network is connected, they can also access the content of your message. then it goes to the cloud, it goes to the server of this company who is providing this service, this application. And then from this server, it goes to the other way. It goes to the internet service provider of the person to whom you are communicating, and then through their Wi-Fi administrator, and then it comes to the device B. And that means that everybody who is in this, we say, in this area, they can read the content of the message that you are communicating. But if you're using an end-to-end encryption, what does it mean? It means that here in this part, in your phone and in the application level, this message is going to be encrypted or garbled. So instead of saying, hi Milan, how are you? It will be 200 different characters, letters, numbers, special characters. It will look completely unreadable. And this is how this message will travel from device A. It will go through my Wi-Fi administrator. It will go through internet service provider, servers. It will go on the other way, same way, until it reaches the device B. And when it reaches the device B, then device B, because they know it comes from my device, they will unscramble this and it will become readable once again. And it cannot be intercepted and read by anyone in this way. And this is good because this end-to-end encryption provides a very secure way for us to communicate. And this is why I mentioned Signal, because for me, Signal is one of the most trusted and most, I think, the best application for communication, because first of all, it's open source, so we know their code. And unlike Telegram, which many people are using, it's completely open source, because Telegram is open source on one side, and that is the client side, how we call it. That means that open source, we know what is in our phone. But the server side, which is what is the operating system and how this works on the server level, we don't know, because that is a closed source. This is something that they kept proprietary. So for me, this is the only reason why I don't like Telegram, because I don't know what their servers are doing. So Signal is open source, and very important, Signal keeps no metadata. Metadata is very, very important. For instance, WhatsApp, many people are using WhatsApp. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, but WhatsApp has a different privacy. Okay, they changed some privacy settings, but basically WhatsApp has right to sell your data to third parties. Okay, WhatsApp is using end-to-end encryption, which means that they cannot read the content. They are blind in this part, but WhatsApp has a lot of metadata. So every time I use WhatsApp, when I write a message, they know where I am at that point. Am I sitting, what are my coordinates basically? What device I'm using, what network I'm connected to. These are all things that are accompanying the message. And they're using this as a part of the big data that I spoke in the beginning. And they're selling this information because it's very important to many companies to know why people are using this, how they're using it. They are, using this for many behavioral analysis that, is helping them sell more products to you. So it's basically metadata. I like to say metadata is like an envelope. When you have a letter in your hand and it's closed, you don't know what is written in the letter, but you can see who sent it, from where, you can see the stamp, you can see the date when it was sent, and you can see to whom it was sent. There are many things that you can conclude just from seeing the envelope, that you can conclude about what might be the content of this letter. So metadata is very important in today's world and very scary. So for me, why I like Signal, because Signal is first of all free and open source, and we know what it does. And we know that from metadata, Signal keeps only one thing, and that is what is the last time you used Signal. they need this to know how many active users they have. And that is the only thing that Signal keeps from any kind of metadata. So another not so fun facts is that in 93% of the cases, hackers took several minutes to do their thing, whether it is an attack or just to leave some malware in the network or device. While companies and organizations took several days or weeks to discover this kind of attacks. I know, for instance, you all heard of Freedom House, the great organization from the US. And they were the victims of a cyber attack several years ago. And how it happened. They had a big, I think it was the end of the year, and they had a big, something like, not a party, but some kind of event that was happening where their director was speaking. And the next day, every employee, of course, not every employee, but not the management of the Freedom House, because they would realize that this is a phishing email. All employees, other employees in Freedom House received an email from the director, thanking them for participating in the yesterday's events. And this is a great year for our company. And if you want to read the press release regarding the event yesterday, you have it in PDF attachment in this email. I think that 10 people inside the organization clicked on that link, believing it is coming from the director, just to read the press release. Okay, they read this, they closed it. It was perfectly written, nice language, everything. They closed it. A few days later, they receive a phone call from NSA and saying, guys, what are you doing with China? I say, what do you mean? Well, we see this enormous traffic between your servers and China. Are you doing something there? It's okay, we just need to know because it's something that, was flagged in our system. It's not usual. They say, no, we are not doing anything. And then they realized that this email that they received from the director was actually a phishing email that installed, it was a malware that installed something in their computer. And this something started to download their entire database to China. So it's, and then again, they were not the ones who discovered that. It was, the third party, the NSA, and it took them several days to realize that what is happening is not normal. And this is something that, that was flagged, and they need to call and check if this is something that is, they are doing regularly, or it's something that is potential threat. So how to protect yourself? First of all, use Linux. Yeah, there is a smiley here, but because I'm sure that many of you are smiling now, you say, what do you mean Linux? But again, if you really want to be safe, Linux is the most safest operating system that there is. First of all, because every Linux is, set in a specific way. So every Linux is different. My Linux is different from my friend's Linux, because they did something different when they were setting up, and it's different, it's special. And this is why it is very hard to have a virus that will affect this specific machine. I mean, it is technically possible, but somebody would need to know exact setup of your computer to create a specific virus just for your computer. So technically it is possible. How likely? Very unlikely that something like this will happen. So the best solution for you, if you want to stay safe, is to use Linux. But of course, I understand this is not an easy, and I know some organizations from the region who were trying to switch to Linux, but then it was an issue with, I'm sorry, my signal is ringing, but it's on my computer as well. I cannot stop this. Sorry. The second thing, very important, is think before you click. You need to think every time before you click on an attachment or before you click on on any link that you received in your email, because you are the first line of defense. You are the ones who are, I say, human firewall. You are the one who need to analyze, are you receiving a real email or real communication from someone, or is it something that is a potential threat? So think before you click is probably one of the most important advices that we can give to the people. The third thing is you need to avoid these short links. You know, sometimes people who want to, share links, they go to this, there are these services where they, instead of you receiving a huge link, they send you this shortcut. But these shortcuts are dangerous because you never know what is on the other end of this shortcut until you click on this. So it is important for you to avoid these shortcut links when you receive them, and especially if you receive them from the people you don't know. And if you receive them from the people you know, call that person and say, did you really send me this? What is this? Because I don't want to click on anything. And I mean, we say security is complicating your life. I know that most people don't like security because security will add an extra step to everything that you are doing. Whether it is a safe browsing, you need to go and open a VPN if you want to safely browse the internet, or you need to do an extra step, but sometimes it is necessary. And then that depends on the level of potential risk you are experiencing. That means how you need to behave. So, it sounds strange, but yeah, call person who sent you this link and make sure that they really sent something, and to know what it is before you click on this. Second thing is you need to back up your data regularly. Backing up data is something that you need to do on a regular basis, not just because you might be the potential target of a cyber attack and you might lose your data, but it is important because devices break, they break regularly. You can lose your data just because something happened with your computer. And the best way to prevent this is to do a regular backup. Another thing, as I say, always make sure that the website has HTTPS before you leave any sensitive data there. Because before you leave any data there, before you even log in on that website, make sure it has HTTPS there, so you know that at least the connection to this website is secure. Now, very important thing for those who are, who want to do some things on the internet anonymously, or they don't want someone to trace what they are doing, and that is to use VPN. VPN is very important, and for me, VPN is crucial in several instances. First of all, every time you are connecting on let's say a wireless network in a restaurant, in a hotel, in the airport, you never know first who set up this network. Is it really a network of the restaurant, or is it some evil hacker who is sitting there in the restaurant with his computer, who created the false SSID with the name of this restaurant, and who is gathering all the data that you are putting while you are online, because your connection to the internet is going through their device. So they are monitoring and collecting everything that you are doing. And otherwise, it might be the evil administrator who is working in the hotel or in the airport and who is monitoring what people are doing, and then again doing the same thing. So every time you are connecting to a Wi-Fi network outside your home or office, use VPN. And there are many different VPNs. There are many free VPNs that exist, but I would recommend a Siphon. Siphon is a VPN that was created by a Canadian organization, and it was created specifically for activists and CSOs around the world who have an issue connecting to the internet, or they need to circumvent the censorship. So Siphon is very good because Siphon, unlike most of the free VPN providers, does not keep any logs of what you are doing. because it was created, you know, by the community for the community, and they are trying to make people safe. It is not a free VPN that you can see if you put a free VPN in Google, and then you will see hundreds of VPNs. And trust me, those VPNs are not free, because they're collecting your data. They're collecting the logs of what you are doing, and then they are selling this to third parties. I mean, not they're selling a specific information, what this person did, but they're selling big data again. They're selling general information, which will make companies make decisions and understand why people are using VPNs. What kind of websites are they connecting to, from where to where, and all these kind of things they can conclude from these logs. So basically, if you know something says it's free on Google, usually you are the merchandise there, and they're selling your data to third parties. So it's not free. One of the best solutions, of course, is to purchase VPNs, because there are some VPNs. And again, I implore you to, every time when you're trying to purchase this kind of service, you do an analysis. You go through several, you know, benchmarks, websites, see how these VPNs are doing. Is this antivirus good? You need to do this by yourself, because this is the best way that you can make the right decision. And the final thing that says here, it's train your people. And we have something in chat, sorry. Yeah, yes, Stefan, that's the one. So wait. So the final thing that says here, and this is probably the most important one, it is said, train your people. You need to train your people, because you need to understand that people that work in your organizations are not cybersecurity professionals. They don't know these things. They don't understand these things. And I have been working here in the region for the last 3 years for one organization, providing exactly that. Beside technical assistance, the most important thing that we realized is training people, because people need to be aware of all the dangers that exist on the internet when they're online, so that they need to understand how they can protect themselves. Because if people are not aware of this, they cannot protect themselves. So training people is crucial. Not just training people, but also creating some kind of guidelines or protocols, or however you want to call them, rules, how people should behave while using electronic devices in the organization, or using personal devices while connecting to the organization network. You need to create rules for this, because it is very important that people understand the threat, and this is how they will know how to respond to this. I know that what was funny for me, that after every training that I have done in the region, it doesn't matter what country, in any country, after this training, we start to receive an increase in phishing reports. But that's not because the phishing emails have increased in their numbers. It's just because the people are now trained and understand what is a phishing email, and then they start to report this more. So basically the level of phishing is rising slowly, but after the training you see that the level of reports rise, rapidly, which is, not related to the increase of phishing emails, but just an increase in awareness of how phishing works. Then Deflect.ca and Google Project Shield are very effective in protecting against DDoS attacks. And both Deflect.ca and Google Project Shield, they provide free DDoS protection for CSOs and media from all around the world. I personally like Deflect more than Google, for only one reason, is that I think that Deflect is more responsive. Deflect is run by an organization called Equalite from Canada, and they are very effective. And they, I like to, when I speak about Deflect, I always mention the fact that they are protecting a number of Vietnamese CSOs. And people say, oh, okay, Vietnamese, why? Vietnam as a government, they have a very big cybersecurity service. and they employ around 40,000 people or something like that. And we had instances where there were Vietnamese human rights websites that were, I don't know, put up, and then within a matter of minutes, they were taken down by DDoS attacks that was perpetrated by Vietnamese government. So they are very active in trying to kill any website that is trying to say something that is not official Vietnamese policy. So for me, when Google, when Deflect is protecting Vietnamese websites and it's keeping them visible online, that's a very good reference. So Deflect, they answer very good. I mean, Google Project Shield, we have been working with them as well, but as I say, it takes some time for them to respond, to set up. But with Deflect, we had some very good response times in the past, and they are really, especially if you tell them that you are under attack or something like that, they can speed things up and make sure that you get protected quickly. It's something like Cloudflare, but you don't pay for it, and it doesn't have all the functionalities as Cloudflare, but it provides the same level of protection. Then another thing, always used open source browsers. Or when I'm saying open source browsers, that's Mozilla Firefox, foremost. And then Google Chrome, even though technically Google Chrome is not an open source, but Google Chromium, on which Chrome is based, is open source. And another thing why Google Chrome is good is that Google Chrome has an AI that is working behind the Google Chrome, and it's monitoring what you are doing. And sometimes you would see Google Chrome saying, you are going to the website that is not safe, but that's because they consider this website unsafe. And if they see that you are doing this on a regular basis and you know what you're doing, basically it learns with you and it will stop reporting things that you are normally doing. But the moment there is something abnormal that happens, it will inform you. Google Chrome is also good for this advanced phishing, especially in combination with Google, I think, Protection Service, it's called. It's like a key fob that is used for two-factor authentication, which is, again, a best way for protection against this advanced phishing, because it checks the URL, between other things, besides providing the good and strong password. Then KeePass. KeePass is very good service. It's free service. It helps you keep your passwords safe. So what does it mean? You have one master password, how we call it, that you're using to access KeePass, and then KeePass is keeping all your passwords there. So, and they're keeping them safe and they're remembering them. So every password can be very different with 15, 20, 30 characters, very difficult to break. And it's there and it's very good. And I recommend this to the people because if you remember from the start, 63% of attacks that happened were due to, weak default or broken passwords. So the password management is very important. Then OSSEC is a very, very good host-based intrusion detection system. It monitors your network, but what is good with OSSEC is it's not only working in your network, it's also working on your cloud service because it monitors both of them. It follows the logs that you are doing, logs of everything that is happening, who accessed when. It's also monitoring your firewalls. So OSSEC is a very good, service. And it's the creators are still deciding, and they plan to leave this free because this kind of services are usually something that you need to pay a lot of money for, but OSSEC is still free and they plan to keep it free. So, it's very good. Veracrypt is something that is crucial. And why? Because Veracrypt is used to encrypt your devices. And encryption of devices is one of the a must in any organization. Why? Because you never know what might happen to your device. It might get stolen, it might get confiscated, it might get lost. But if your device is encrypted, then all the information that are kept in your device are safe. Nobody can access them. Forget about the movies when you have, someone, oh, we got this guy's computer, but it's encrypted. Oh no, give me a moment. I mean, that does not exist. If the computer is encrypted with the proper tools, there is no way that anyone can break this encryption in a reasonable time. So it is very important, not just for computers, but also for phones. iPhones, they have automatic encryption. The moment iPhone is locked, the content of the iPhone is encrypted. Android started using this from the version 7. So if you have an older Android phone that is before version 7, then you need to go into security settings and turn the encryption on of your device. And then it means that the moment your Android phone also locks, the entire content of the phone is encrypted. And as I say, I recommend you to encrypt your devices, especially computers, and have in mind that if you decide to do that, it will take several hours. So, when you are doing that, prepare to do that, during night or something like that, because usually it takes, I don't know, up from 2 hours, and then it can be up to 6 hours, depending on how big the drive is, how fast your hard drive is, or many other things. But it takes a long time for you to encrypt your computer, but it is really important. And another very interesting tool that I like to recommend is called GoFish. And GoFish is the tool that you may use for something that we called friendly phishing. And friendly phishing is that something that you create a phishing email that you send to your colleagues, and then you see who is going to get hooked. Are you going to catch something when you go fish? I know that we use this in some organizations. We use basically this after, several months after the training to see if people still remember some things. And then if somebody gets hooked on GoFish, then they need to go to the new training, and then they need to listen to me all over again. So it is a very useful tool to test the people in your organization after the trainings to see if they really, understood everything. So basically, this is all I planned for today. Thank you for your time. And I'm now open to any questions that you might have regarding this or anything. I don't see anything in chat, maybe in Q&A. Luca, do we have something there?
No, I don't think so. But if anybody needs some, further explanation or examples, feel free to.
Yes, please, I'm here. We have some time left, and yeah, we can talk about this.
Maybe I can ask something. Is it safe to rely on our own resources within organization, or it's better to hire some professional for all security upgrades in our work?
Well, there are two ways how you can be safe or digitally safe, to say like this. First one is the easiest one. You pay someone to do this for you. The other way is to learn by yourself. And thankfully, there are plenty of resources today so that you can really learn about digital security, about the best practices, about the tools. There are many ways through trainings that you can educate yourself to do the same thing. But then again, as I say, it takes some time for you to enter into this. And if you have people who have a high enough level of, tech knowledge, then my advice is for you to invest in your people and, you know, give them opportunities to learn digital security and to, understand these tools, to test these tools, to learn new tools, and then implement. So there are two ways, as I say, you know, spend the money, hire someone, or just, you know, keep your chair warm and learn a lot. And there are a lot of resources that allow you to do that. So you can get pretty well, but you need some level of technical knowledge before that. So, and another thing that I wanted to say, and I forgot when I was talking about VPN, and I mentioned that private browsing is what many people are using, and think that while using private browsing or incognito mode, depending on what kind of browser you're using, that they are safe. So one thing, private browsing or incognito mode, they do only one thing. They don't keep anything on your computer or on your device. But that does not mean that anybody, your system administrator, internet provider, they all see your traffic. And yeah, this is very important. All internet service providers, they see your traffic. They see what you do online. It's not because they don't like you. It's their job. They're monitoring their network. So they have access to this because this is not encrypted. They know what you are doing online, which sites are you visiting, how often. This is something that stays there. And private browsing does not prevent your internet service provider from seeing that. VPN does. So VPN with private browsing, it's complete anonymity, both from your device and then from the internet service provider and anyone who is monitoring internet service provider, because we know in every country in the world, security services have a direct connection, cable, inside the core networks of internet service providers and mobile providers. This is by law in all countries, so they have access to this. So we have a raised hand and we have also some questions.
Hello, I'm from Research Center of Parents of Children with Special Needs from Skopje. And my question is, if we employ or we get it, or we start to cooperate with some professional people in this industry, do you have some suggestion how we can check their CV, their recommendation, their reputation? Because if we open the system for them, it's very big risk. What is meaning that some of them maybe they work on the both side.
Yeah,
thank you.
I completely understand you and your issue. And the thing is that it is very difficult, first of all, for any organizations to get people who are security experts just for them, because most security experts, they have very cushy jobs working for private sector, because private companies are paying a lot of money for for digital security consultants and experts to work and protect their own companies. So it is very difficult to find the good ones and also those who are trusted. But the best way is for you to ask around and see if there are people. I mean, I, for instance, know one guy in Macedonia who is really good, who has been working with many different organizations from civil sector in Macedonia, and they trust him. So I guess that he is the right guy. So the best way is to ask around, to speak with people. I mean, just by reading their CVs, you cannot see that. It's best way to speak with people whom they have been working with. Are they satisfied? Did they have any issues? So it is best, you know, word of mouth is the best recommendation in this case, better than any CV. You know, CV is just about technical stuff, but you're speaking about trust, and this is something that you cannot read from a CV, but best is to ask around, ask different projects, ask different organizations. Yeah, Robert Todorowski, you can speak with people. He was working with CEP, so you can ask Yeton, you can ask Yeton about him, and he will, if you know Yeton from CEP. So yeah, he can also tell you. And I know that he recommended him to other organizations, and yeah. So Marco, I saw there was some, how much money should NGOs spend on IT security? The more the merrier. So it depends. That's the biggest issue. that's one thing that we recognize. My project was a global USAID funded project. And the main thing we realized when we were coming to different regions in the world is that, first of all, donors do not have an understanding for digital security. Every time organization would put something related to digital security and IT security in their budget proposal, they were asked to remove it because it's not, how can you say, project related. So it's not something that is important for the project implementation, but it's, you know, it's an extra expense that they do not need. But for me, one of the most important things is legal software. Like, legal software is something that, for me, if I'm a donor, I would want that organizations that I work with have legal software. If they don't have legal software, I would provide them a legal software, just because I don't want anyone, because the easiest way how I can close down any organization in the world is to send them a team that, or in Serbia, I think it's financial police, they also have this mandate to check for the legality of software. So they would go into the organization, they would check their computers. If they found illegal software, there is a huge fine per device. Not many organizations, not any organization can pay these kind of fines. So the best way for me to close organization I don't like is to send them a team that will investigate the legal software. And donors do not understand that. So are there any grants for improving internet security? I know that project that I worked with, ISC, Information Safety and Capacity Project, we had grants that were exactly made for improving internet security. There is now an extension, not an extension, it's a different project, different name, doing the same thing. It's called GIF, but then it's a different organization who got that. I don't know how it works, but I know that basically we were the only ones who were providing grants for security. And we were providing grants, and I'm not sure who is all present here, but I see people from around the region. We have been working with many organizations in the region, providing them grants that will improve their security, whether it is secured hosting, software, VPNs, in some cases even Wi-Fi routers, because Wi-Fi router is very important security-wise. Wi-Fi router is crucial, because if you have, and I know that for, you know, personally in Serbia and also in Macedonia, ZTE and Huawei are the most commonly used Wi-Fi routers that you would get from your internet service provider. And those are not safe. So the best way how you can be safe is to put a different router instead of that one. And we were providing this kind of things. So I'm not sure that there are other organizations who are doing that at the moment. Maybe GIF, this project, is doing that, but I really don't know about that at the moment. Should we host our websites in our own countries? Well, that depends. But I would recommend no, because we all know our countries. So we were always, the grants that we were providing for hosting to our organizations we worked with were mainly abroad. So you know, because first of all, we knew these companies that we were providing grants for. We know that first of all, some of these companies, they work closely with Deflect. So I think that even in their access panel, you can, you know, choose and say, I want to Deflect, and you can just turn it on by, you know, clicking yes on their access panel. So I think it's better to host it abroad, because first of all, they have higher level of protection, and they have, they cannot be influenced. That's the most important thing, because we all know how things work here. You know, somebody calls you and, you know, your website might find itself without hosting anymore. I hope I answered.
Sorry, Milan. Jasna asked in chat. She was the one who asked.
No, I said the name. I read this. I said the name when she was talking, and then I said another person whom she can contact and get the name of this guy. So.
Okay, I was thinking possibly you can write it out in chat to her, so it's easier. I don't know if
yes.
It might be easier to contact the person if it's no problem. If anybody else has any questions, it's a good time to ask now. Also, I would like to ask, actually, not Milan, but our attendees here, like, how secure do you think your organization is right now? Specifically, like, do you use, for example, some kind of a cloud storage or sort of online storage like Microsoft OneDrive or Google Drive or something? And if you do, are sort of confidential documents of your organization secure? Like, can anybody from your organization, for example, access like employee data and like things like that? Is this something that like you've taken care of? Because I'm interested in how sort of what level a lot of you are at right now. So I would be interested to possibly see some replies in chat about this.
Maybe they don't feel secure enough to speak.
Yes, indeed. Maybe it's a bit of a touchy question then.
Yeah.
In that case,
well, you did ask them how secure they are. So.
Yeah, it is difficult for you.
That is also that,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I mostly asked about internal security. I didn't want to ask like, hey, are your passwords secure and so on. So
how long is your password?
yeah, exactly. So if there are any further questions, maybe we can then move on with the rest of our agenda for today, if that is all right with everybody.
Well, I will understand that as a yes. Milan, thank you very much. This was really useful, and I'm really thinking of myself as really lucky to not getting hacked anywhere at the airport or hotel, anywhere where I was traveling. So thank you for this information, and I will Google a lot of things you mentioned. And of course, if you send me this presentation, I will share with all participants. And also, if I get some questions.
Yeah, let me revert it to English, because I added some things on this one, so it's not a regular one. So I have to translate some things, but I will send it.
Great. And if I get some questions later on, I will forward them to you. So thank you again so much, and let's stay in contact.
Thank you for organizing this, and thank you guys for your time. I hope this was useful for you, and yeah, if you have any questions, you can contact Catalyst and they will get back to me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Milan. Goodbye.
Okay. I will continue with this presentation, but if you need some kind of break, it would be great if you suggest that in chat, because it's really hard when you don't have this feedback from other faces. You cannot see are you satisfied with this representation? So do you need something? Is it enough interactive? So please, if you have some comments, do chat with us and please talk. It would be really important for us to have some kind of feedback. My part of this lecture today is how you can improve trust within your community. So I will start with a quiz. And I would ask you kindly to respond. And when I say reports, I'm asking you like all the kind of reports, financial reports on work, on your activities, on project activities, audit reports, whatever you do have as your organizational thing that can prove that you are like doing good job within your community. It would be great if you just comment if you share that. Oh. We have a really nice group here that are sharing reports on the website. Nice. Okay. I would like to talk about the trust within your community, especially because here in Serbia we had one case called The List. And previous year in the summer period, we had some leak. I can see some chat information. I will forward that to Milan. Previous year in the summer period, we had some leak in the media from our government body called Anti-Money Laundering and Financing Terrorism Body, Prevention of Terrorism, Financing Terrorism Body. We had some leak of monitored organization and individuals. That body monitored their transactions and their work in the banks. So under the some regulation that our states improved and civil society get along with, government abused that power to monitor financial and bank accounts of these NGOs. And there probably about 40 organizations and 20 individuals were monitored due that process. So when we ask that body to inform us why it's the process and is there something suspicious that is going on with this organization or these individuals, is that some law process in stage, they said, no, it's a just regular random check. But if you see the list of these organizations that were monitored, you can see that that list was the names of all famous organizations, mostly the watchdog organizations and the organizations who have critically overviewed the activities of the government. So that happened, and it really created a lot of fuzz in our community. And that state body claimed it was random search, and it was really random. But in the end, you can see how your security in your organization can be breached from the other side, and you cannot even have control over it. So in that sense, it's really important that we create trust with our community. So when you get on the bad side of your media and you get in front of the tabloids and you get to the smear campaign and everything, you know that there is your group of people, your target group that support you. For example, 150 organizations signed this Get Your Vaccine call announcement, and they call to action citizens to get their vaccine. And civil society in Serbia is really on bad voice, and it's really not the happier and the best example of good practices. So it's really having a bad narratives and everything. So so it's really important to think about how you create connections with your constituents, because when you ask them to get vaccinated, and if you ask them to sign your petition, and you ask them for money, for donations, for memberships, it's really important to know whom and why you are asking these informations. And here I will talk about how Catalyst does it. And here in Catalyst, you really understand that community is the key to good communication and key to having a good reputation. And we have two really important products where we promote these values, and one is called Neprofitne.rs, and the other is called donacije.rs. I will just show you now how donacije.rs are working. Donacije.rs are a crowdfunding platform, which is where you can create your campaign and create whatever you need money for to be announced. But it's not the only thing, because if it's like that, we would be different than Indiegogo or GoFundMe or whatever else. There is a whole process where you have to develop your community. So you have to create the trust within your community. And then first, when you sign up, you say how much money you want to raise. Is that a reasonable and possible thing to do? And then you write how big your community is. So it's really important to know by name how many people will support you. So you can see here in this GIF I created, like a lot of campaigns we made, and because we work with these organizations, are successful. And from our experience, I can say that organizations who are able to transform and be more flexible and more communicative with their communities are more successful. On contrary, with the old organizations that are used to having funds from big EU donors, small organizations are really founded in their communities, and they have a good relationship with their constituents. So in that sense, they create a really good relationships with them, and citizens recognize that. And in that way, that organizations are able to get the money. But it's really not about the money, because you can see here, I mean, okay, here is the money in dinars, but those are pretty small amounts of money that are gathered, about 100 euros or 1,000 euros. It's not a big amount of money. It's just important that you have the people. If moment of need, they will help you and they will support you in any way. It's not just money-wise. It's a really like in kind, or with some other, like signing petitions or anything else. But we wanted to be sure that every time when someone supports this organization, be sure what they are supporting. So every crowdfunding campaign owner needs to have a blue badge on our Neprofitne.rs web page. And that means that they first have to register, and they have to input and fill in their information about their organization, to say who they are, what they are doing, how much money they get from all the different donors, and just present themselves as transparent organizations, so you can be sure that you can trust them. So if they say, we need money for this initiative for clean air, you can be sure that how they will spend that money. And we do that like in these two ways. First, we ask them for getting a badge on a Neprofitne.rs. And the other thing is, if they don't get that amount of money they said they will from their constituent, because they made a wrong how many people they will support their initiative, they need to return money to their donors. So in that way, you can create trust. And in that way, it's really important that for that people to know how big their community is, how big support, and on how many people they can count on. And back to Neprofitne, there is basically 4 steps in registering your profile on Neprofitne.rs. And first is one like claiming your profile, saying that you are owner of information that is on database on Neprofitne.rs. And Neprofitne are online tool where you can show transparency, and it's self-regulating. It's not like it's like you have to enter all information and other people can see it, share it, and update it. And the first step, like there is a 3-step where you can input your information. And first is like this white badge, second is a gray badge, and the third is a blue badge. And while you are applying for that, you get a number of points which give you a level of transparency that is possible with the information you applied. All informations that are input are verified, and then you get awarded with one of the badges. And I just want to share how average NPO looks like. They're almost, as I said previously for Donacija.rs, they're a young organization. They're able to adapt. They're flexible. They can change their way of thinking. They're most knowledgeable about new online solutions. So this kind of online transparency is a good tool for them, especially because they don't publish reports on their website. So having a tool as Neprofitne can help them to provide this kind of trust with their communities. They are mostly from big cities, they're associations, and they're mostly working with art, culture, youth, and human rights. And this is how Neprofitne looks like. And Neprofitne has two views, 2 sides. One is from donors, where donor can enter to that database and see which organizations are trustworthy. They can see which organizations have one of the badges and see how they spend money, who were the previous donors, what they are spending money on. So they can value is their organizations should be supported or not. So for that part is a really useful and easy to access information. And you can see how many organizations got the blue badge. It's really not easy. You really have to spend some time with your accountant to input information about your transparency. And the other part of the platform is for nonprofits, where they can see their potential partners in projects or in everyday work. They can see how many organizations are working in the cities, like in their area, and on what subjects. They can see their competition in the end. And you can here just add information about your organization. And in the first step of registering your organization, you will be asked about some basic information, like name of your organization, address, members of founders or assembly members, or your mission, vision, like those basic information that can be found probably on your website. But in the second step, you will be asked some really important questions that really can divide you from the bad organization and the gongos that are really now popular, especially in our region, where they are taking money from government for their own needs, and they are not doing anything good from the community. And in this second part, when you publish your programs and what you are doing and where, and which amount of money and from which donors, you can really show is your work really valuable? Can you provide any additional value to your community? And here it's really important to add these informations and show how important your programs are. In the third part, there is information that are really financial, and the part where you should add all information like how much money you are spending on salaries of your employees, how many employees you have, and in the end you can see some visualized data like here. How many money is spent, like if you get a 10 grand from some donor and you spend most of that money on the salaries, you can see that something is not, it's fishy there. Except if, of course, if you are some think tank organization, that would probably be normal, or some institute or whatever, where you just spend money on employees, on creating some report or analysis. But in content of local and community engaged organization, these tools can be really useful and can help you to orient and see where are organizations that are really doing a good job on the local. I will just talk now on do's and don'ts on your websites, and especially in context of this, what I previously talked about. You should definitely invest in creating a professional and secure site for your NPO. Because I mean, previous week we are just talking about security, and all our speakers told you that secure site is, I mean, it does not have price, and it's really important to understand that. So I'm like putting that as a first thing to know. Don't put too much content. It's really important to be simple, to be easy to navigate, to see what's the main activities of your website. Make it possible to contact you easily. Contact page is the most important page on your websites, because if you want to get to your community, you need to be reachable. You have to have functional contact form, and it needs to work. I don't know, but probably you all be in a situation that you go to some website of some organization, and you just see contact form without email. Okay, it's a fair, but when you enter your information, you don't receive a feedback like, yes, this is sent, and you never get response. So be sure that if you have a contact form, it's simple, it doesn't ask too many informations from anyone who is inputting information in that contact form. And it's easy to navigate. So don't ask for a lot of information. It's going to be, it's not going to be nice. It's going to be overwhelming, and it will deny people from talking to you. So be simple, be casual, and then if you need some additional information, you can always send a follow-up link. Like we have recently been in communication, just do you want to change your newsletter subscription or whatever. Of course, colors and fonts, it's really important to be in accordance with your visibility and your color scheme that you are using in your organizational work. Don't create too big text, because it's not easy to read and no one wants to read a lot. They just want to know key things like your mission and vision, and things that can be communicate through few sentences. Don't go over that. Of course, it's always good to add social buttons to your website, so you can share your social networks and grow your brand awareness. Oops, sorry. And you should add some reviews. And in that context, it's really important, where you can have testimonials from your beneficiaries, where you can share whatever you have, like ex-volunteer testimony, some previous project audit expert who can say that you are really doing a good job, do it. Because your volunteers, your neighbors, your other partner organizations are your ambassadors. In that way, you can build trust and you can show that you are really working a good job. And if you have a lot of like that stock photos with fake names and fake people, I mean, people know that those are fake. Just go with the real people, because someone knows someone who knows someone, and like Milan said, word to mouth, you will get to your audience, but you have to build it. On the other hand, if we are talking about don'ts, there is one thing that we always somehow forget, is how your website looks on the mobile device. I was informed today, for example, that this Zoom invitation for this event wasn't responsive for mobile, for cell phone. So that was like, but if I checked earlier, I wouldn't be in that situation. So again, about contact form, again, I say it's the most important part of your website. It's important to create site maps. You need to know what you want, and it's really important to talk with your developer. If you ask them to create you a site, they will. They don't even have to ask you what do you want. They will create whatever they think you need. But you need to be architect of your site. You need to be sure that every information has their own place, and it's all very good structured. Okay, don't make everything on your page as image. I would. It's really important for a few reasons. First is like, if I want to Google some information of you and I just want to copy from your website, if it's image, I have to just manually copy that. But if you have something like what I can just go with my mouse and copy it like that, I can use it. Especially if you are doing with some reports, with some information that are like statistic, what can be really useful, then it's really important to this information do not be pictures. On the other hand, there is things that you should create on your website to be editable. I mean, not editable, but like available to be downloaded. And I just want to give one example of one organization that's really good, doing a good job in Serbia. And it's Nordor, which has the list of all beneficiaries that ever donated for them by name and the last name, and like, this is the purpose, this is the comment, no, this is the name of organization or individual who gave the money. And this is really cool. And Nordor shows that they are really transparent, and they really, you in every moment, in every day, you can know in which city they gather how much money. But on the other hand, you cannot do anything with these informations. Like, you cannot download it. You cannot, like, you can go and manually put these informations in your calculator or whatever, and then have information how much money they collected. And it's not the only thing you need. It's really important to creating trust is how they spend that money. Of course, I don't believe that Nordor really doing a good job. I just want to say that it's really important. If you're publishing something, it really needs to be checkable. You really have to give a chance to your audience to check that information and to be sure that that this information you provided is right. It's really okay if you don't have a section for that on your website, but there is a lot of platforms such as Neprofitne, and you should publish some of these informations on your website. Of course, I really don't believe that you should put every single donation on your site if you have a lot of them, because it's a huge administrative trouble. But you can always do it monthly. or have some system, I don't know, some donation system like CRM, which can help you to have it all maybe even visualized and with graphs to show how much money you're gathering. But also don't forget to have information of how you spend this money. And that's the part of reports. If you don't using a platform such as Neprofitne, it's really important to publish reports on your website, so you can show that in the previous year you had some amount of money and you spend it on what is your value in community. In Serbia, there is a obligation of every state body to publish their report on work every year, but a really small percentage of them does that. So I mean, civil society is always the biggest criticizer of the government. So the first thing that we should do as a civil society is to be transparent with our work. Well, for the end, I would like to share one more quiz with you. I just want to share the results of the previous one because I forgot that. And only 22% does not share their reports on the website, which is really impressive. It's a really good practice, and you should probably, all the others, they are not doing it. You should probably do it. And again, if you're doing it in PDF or whatever, I mean, you just need to verify your data and somehow show to public how that is true, because you can write anything, but I mean, you should verify it with some things. I don't know, if you were in some city in Serbia, you should, and you paid for a visit there, you should have some photos, and I don't know. And that's the thing. And the other quiz. Hey, I still have people here listening. It's good to know. Okay, most of you think that your organization is transparent, and that's the great part, because in that moment you know that you can expect the support of your community. So, thank you very much. If you need anything, if you have any questions, just feel free to just raise hand or write in chat. If you're not comfortable with talking, you can do whatever. I mean, what is most easier to you. Feel free to, if you want, you can write me an email later.
Sorry, I would just like to touch, let me quickly turn on my camera so that I'm not invisible. I would just like to quickly touch on what Milica, actually on Milica's entire presentation on structuring your website. I'd like to say that Catalyst is currently hosting an accelerator program, which prepares organizations for basically structuring, restructuring, and launching a new website. And we're connecting them to volunteers who will provide them this new website for free. Now, unfortunately, this is kind of we're kind of at this webinar at a bit of a late time. So I wish I could recommend you to join. But unfortunately, we've had the last workshop of the website accelerator a few days ago. But if you're interested, and if you speak Serbian, because it wasn't originally intended for an international audience, if you speak Serbian, however, you can contact Milica, and she will forward it to me. And if you're interested in a more detailed material on best practices in designing and structuring your website. You like I said, write to Milica, and we'll get back to you with the videos of the workshops, where we have both our team and experts from digital marketing and from web design and web development, explain the best practices in producing your website as well as possible. So if you're looking for more information on that, you can let us know. That's just I wanted to quickly jump in there. Sorry, Milica.
No, Luca, I'm glad you did. So again, if you want to contact me, I will share my email address with you in the chat. So feel free. We want to stay in contact with you. Okay. If there is no any questions, thank you very much for your time. I just want to ask you one last thing, and I almost forget that. Please, can you fill out this evaluation form? It's really important for us to share what you think and what could be better. So next time we will really work hard to do that. And in the September of this year, we will have a next series of these workshops. So if you have something that should be implemented or changed, feel free to share that. And if you liked it, please tell your friends to follow Catalyst on our social networks so they can get, they know when it's going to be in the next series of these workshops.